Okay, we'll start with this. An update to a previous story we talked about here on the channel. The Amy Timlin versus Carly Skelly rematch that isn't happening. And, initially the reason given was that Amy Timlin had bigger fish to fry and better things to do. And it appears that the Timlin people weren't lying. She has been appointed as the official challenger of the EBU champion, Mary Romero. And, EBU title covers a much bigger area than just a British Commonwealth title. Mary Romero is the current reigning EBU champion. She won the vacant title against Ivanka Ivanova in January of last year, before mid-March when the pandemic had shut everything down. Amy Timlin is Mary Romero's mandatory challenger. Mary Romero of Spain, who sports a professional record of 6 wins and 2 losses. Mary has never been stopped. She actually lost one to Tatiana Zrazevskaya of Russia. She actually lost one to Tatiana in 2016. And one is left to wonder how to interpret this.
Fight set to go down in the super bantamweight division.
That is 122 pounds. I guess the burning question is whether or not this can be considered a duck. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure, because this Mary Romero fight does seem to be time sensitive. And in some ways, this Mary Romero fight is for a more significant title than just the British Commonwealth title. It's for an EBU title. You tell yourself that Carly Skelly was exhibiting more enthusiasm towards the rematch than the Timlin people. You tell yourself that maybe the rematch was more of a priority to Carly than it was to Amy, but maybe that's because Amy found something better to do. It's a situation where want doesn't always get. That maybe Carly Skelly really wanted that rematch, and who knows? Maybe Amy was going to give it to her, but Amy had to pull out injured, some time passed, and a different opportunity in the process of time passing
that came up,
presented itself, and she took it.
It's not the end of the world.
If I'm being honest, I wouldn't judge young Amy Timlin too harshly, because they're both still unbeaten fighters after all. Amy and Carly, their fight ended in a draw, and given where they are in their careers, there's plenty of time for them to meet up sometime later down the line after they both have amassed more professional experience and rounded out as fighters. I'm just saying, it's not the end of the world that the rematch isn't happening straight away. I wouldn't let anybody raise my blood pressure arguing about it, because there's plenty of room for the rematch to happen, even if it's not straight away. I understand Carly Skelly's discontent. She wanted that second opportunity to secure the victory, but these things happen. It is boxing.
Technically, Amy really does have better things to do.
She's going to be boxing very soon for an EBU title, which really is a step up from a British Commonwealth title, and she's doing this at only 21 years old, so she's still on the right track. Look for more updates on this situation in the coming weeks and months. In other news, a story I didn't get to talk about the last week or so. Saureland admits a major power move is coming after Wasserman Boxing was unveiled as the sport's newest promotional company, with plans to massively attack the boxing market. They are the biggest sports agency on planet Earth. There's no one that comes close. 40 Premier League winners on their books. Over 2,000 athletes under contract. That's the horsepower in the engine. When you put something like that out in boxing, of course, there's a lot of guessing. I know the move. The move you will see. The move is coming. It seems that the Saureland brothers have joined forces with Wasserman. now Wasserman Boxing, and I didn't get to react to this when the news first broke a little over a week ago, but I took it as good news. That's how I chose to interpret it, because at minimum what this means is that, the Saureland brothers, when they come back with their third installment of the World Boxing Super Series, it won't have all of the financial issues and postponements that the second season had. Now, the second season gave us some really great fights. I mean, it really did. It was entertaining when it was on, but there were a lot of financial problems, scheduling problems, issues. I vaguely recall hearing
The third season.
after the second season had wrapped that the Saureland brothers, they planned on having a women's division in the next season of the World Boxing Super Series, and I'm looking forward to that as well. With the financial engine that Wasserman provides, I think it's safe to say that it's looking encouraging. Moreover, the market that they're planning on targeting, I don't think that they have intentions of invading the American market per se. When they're talking about what they're talking about, I think they're talking about the European market over there across the pond, across the Atlantic Ocean. I think that's where they really want to make a splash. Essentially, DAZN would have a competitor. I mean, I think that's more or less what they're getting at. Matchroom and a competitive market is a good market, because there's that much more content out there. So I'm not against the move. It's looking very encouraging.
It's good news for a boxing fan.
And it's good news for what could be the third season of the World Boxing Super Series. I think things will go a little bit more smoothly than they did the second time out. Though one is left to wonder, what divisions will we see in the series? Men's divisions, women's divisions. I mean, I think about the men's divisions, and a division that might require the consolidation that the World Boxing Super Series provides might very well be the 140-pound division, which we saw in the last season of the World Boxing Super Series. Very soon, Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez are going to be locking horns for the Undisputed Championship in May, late May.
And the third season of the series should kick off sometime after that.
After a victor emerges, and in all likelihood, after the 4 alphabet titles at that weight become vacant, because it's conceivable the winner of that fight ain't going to stick around long enough to defend all those titles. They'll likely move up in weight and challenge Terence Crawford at 147 pounds for his WBO title. I believe that Josh Taylor has already an expressed interest in moving up afterwards, after the Jose Ramirez fight, and having that fight with Terence. 140 pounds in the very near future could become a division that requires the consolidation that the World Boxing Super Series provides. And we already know that there are certain divisions where
It won't happen.
the top shelf talent won't participate in the tournament. 135, 147. At 154 very soon, there's set to be an undisputed title fight between the two remaining titleists there, Jermel Charlo, Brian Castano. But even after that, the PBC's got the run of that place. It's not likely you'll see PBC fighters participating in the World Boxing Super Series. The middleweight division, maybe, perhaps. Certainly not the super middleweight division, where Canelo Alvarez is in the midst of a bid to become its undisputed champion. I mean, there are certain divisions where you already know they might be able to use the consolidation that the tournament provides, but depending what outfits have the run of the place, the fighters there may not participate. Maybe the cruiserweights make a third appearance in the World Boxing Super Series, as both tournaments so far, Season 1 and Season 2, have featured cruiserweights, and perhaps the third will as well. In a nutshell, the divisions I think are more likely than not to make an appearance in the World Boxing Super Series' third season are the flyweights. I could see the flyweights making an appearance. Not so sure about the super flyweights, but I can see the flyweight division making an appearance. I can see the junior welterweight division, 140 pounds. I can see the guys there making an appearance after the alphabet titles there are vacated. I can also see the cruiserweights making an appearance, a third appearance in the series as well. When it comes to a women's division, well, there's any variety of women's divisions that need consolidation and make for great fights. But given who Saureland Promotions has done business with in the past, I'd wager now that Dina Thorsland has moved from 122 down to 118 pounds bantamweight, I'd wager that if they were going to have, there are to have a women's division.
Next season.
In the next season of the World Boxing Super Series, it might be the bantamweight division because Saureland Promotions has promoted Dina Thorsland in the past. Dina is set to be fighting for the newly vacated WBO title there very soon. There's that to consider, and there's the attention, the recent attention that this division has gotten as a result of Ebony Bridges and Shannon Courtenay's fight for what was then the vacant WBA title. Dina Thorsland becomes a champion here, you can stage a unification match between her and Shannon Courtenay. You'd have several seeds, several talented up-and-comers to choose from to populate the tournament. Shernika Johnson, Ebony Bridges, Shotgun, Shannon O'Connell, WBC champion Yulihan Luna of Mexico, IBF champion Maria Cecilia Roman of Argentina. There's ample talent, ample champions, and ample fights to go around to easily make the very best fights and what would be the best advertisements for not just that division and its fighters, but for the sport overall. I'd wager that if a women's division is set to make an appearance in the next season of the World Boxing Super Series, I'd wager it's 118 pounds, the bantamweight division. So all we can do now is wait and see what happens, and wait and see what exactly Wasserman / Saureland Promotions is going to be doing moving forward. And finally, Regis Prograis knows what he wants next. Adrian Broner in a Triller Fight Club bout. Would you pay to see it? This is coming after this past weekend's farcical situation with the very theatrical Ivan Redkach, who wanted to convince the boxing community at large, just anybody that was there, anybody that gave a damn, that he got hit with a very debilitating low blow, and as a result of that, he had to be carried out on a stretcher, when in reality, the instant replay shows that Regis Prograis' shot wasn't anywhere near Ivan Redkach's testicles. It wasn't even below his belt line. And what was initially ruled a technical decision has since been ruled a technical knockout due to Regis Prograis' protests that he was being robbed of a knockout that he so clearly earned. I don't think that Ivan Redkach should get any more fights behind this. It became a situation to where it was clear that Ivan didn't want to be there after a while. He ate a lot of hard left hands from the southpaw Regis Prograis, who was pouring it on thick. And I think that Ivan was just looking for a way out. I mean, I think that's most people's interpretation of what happened there.
Because the punch didn't even land flush.
It wasn't a clean shot. That's not saying that Regis Prograis didn't land a lot of clean shots. He actually did. He actually landed a lot of heavy left hands. It's just that I think those heavy left hands made Ivan Redkach not want to be there. And as soon as he got an opportunity to try and win himself an Oscar, that's exactly what he did. He was just looking for a way out. And behind that, I don't think that guy should get any more fights. You know, you're trying to bite Danny Garcia. You're trying to win an Oscar with Regis Prograis. I mean, let those opportunities go to guys that are actually going to try to win, you know?
Don't squander them on a guy like Ivan Redkach.
The interesting bit of news here is that Regis Prograis is still vehemently pursuing a Adrian Broner fight. Why, I don't know, because Adrian Broner's value, his marquee value, it really isn't what it used to be. There ain't a lot of people out there that actually want to see Adrian Broner in action, but for whatever reason, Regis Prograis views that as a big fight, a major fight. In reference to this weekend's festivities, you know, the Jake Paul-Ben Askren fight, Adrian Broner himself had this to say. He said, "It's crazy. Guys train their whole lives and never get a chance to make this type of money. I'm happy for Jake Paul, and I think he deserves everything given to him. But this is mind-blowing, cause Showtime Boxing and Al Heyman do pay the fuck out of me. But I really put the work in since I was 6 to get where I am. But this is just my opinion. I'm not hating or nothing. Fuck it. My next fight got to be on Triller." Adrian Broner can't seem to make up his mind how he feels about Stephan Espinoza, Showtime, and Al Heyman, because one minute he's complaining about them, and the next minute he's saying they're paying the fuck out of him. Ultimately, I believe the former a lot more than I believe the latter. Adrian Broner's been very vocal the last couple of weeks, last couple of months about his money issues. He's been complaining that he doesn't have a fight date, and we know that he's not a part of Showtime's big schedule, which they just unveiled last week. I don't think Fox is going to invest any more money in the career of Adrian Broner.
What?
I mean, if Showtime isn't, why would Fox?
For what?
What fights are out there on that side of the street for Adrian Broner that the people over there at Fox would give a damn
about?
that the people over there at Showtime didn't give a damn about. He's not part of their big schedule. And I told you guys that this was a possibility, that those disgruntled fighters that are out there, like Adrian Broner, that maybe they don't got a whole lot going on. These are fighters that could perhaps end up on the Triller side of things. The question is, what is a Broner versus Prograis fight worth to the people over there at Triller? And I have to say, if they cared enough to put Regis Prograis in there with Ivan Redkach, it's safe to say they might do the same thing with Adrian Broner.
And he'd fit right in over there.
Reefer, smoke in the air, a very inebriated Oscar de la Coca, a concert environment, expletives. I mean, that's right up Adrian Bronier's alley. Look, Adrian Broner is not a fighter that's fighting for legacy anymore, and he hasn't been for many years now. This is not a guy who's looking to become a world champion in spite of what you might think, in spite of what he might at sometimes say. This guy ain't fighting for belts. He's not going to fight for belts at 140. He's not going to fight for belts at 147. If he's still around, it's for the bag and nothing else. Didn't he say put his boxing career on hold to pursue a music career? And that quickly ended. I'm just saying that this is a guy who, for all accounts, would fit right in the decorum that Triller provides. And, you know, maybe they can compensate him financially in a way that the networks won't, because he's not going to fight in the kind of fights that the networks want him to fight in. People over there at Triller, they've got money to blow. They blew $6 million on a Lopez versus Cambosos Jr. fight. And we all know that the commercial value of that fight doesn't actually warrant that kind of spending, but that's what they spend it on it. And who knows, maybe they'll do the same thing for Adrian Broner, who I don't think is willing to become an undercard fighter.
Yeah, I don't think he's ready for that.
And the networks like Fox, the networks like Showtime, they're not going to continue to pay him an arm and a leg to fight guys like Giovanni Santiago.
No way.
Fighting guys like that to bring in those kinds of abysmal ratings, how do you justify the spending? You can't.
You might have to go to Triller to get the bag.
As funny as this might sound, Adrian Broner might be the right fit for the people over there at Triller and what their vision of boxing is, because rest assured, they want to do more in the sport than what we've seen so far. And they're not working at full capacity yet because the crowds ain't back yet. Just imagine when they can fill a hall or something with people for one of their events.
These ain't your father's kinds of boxing matches.
And this really ain't your father's era of boxing. Triller's vision for the sport is not a very traditional vision. It's a hybrid that lives somewhere between youth culture, hip-hop culture, social media culture, and boxing.
That's right up Adrian Broner's alley.
As Adrian Broner seems to be a guy who can't decide whether or not he wants to be a rapper or a boxer.
The more I think about it, the more I think he'd fit right in over there.
He can't do anything else for Showtime or their numbers. Traditional boxing fans that view Showtime for its boxing content, they don't want to see him. He saw the numbers for his last fight. I'm just telling you, don't be surprised if Adrian Broner ends up on the Triller side of the street.